Hi, I'm Peter Wolff, and today we're talking about processing methods in coffee. Firstly, what processing methods is simply when we harvest the fruit from the tree, is how are we treating the coffee after that, and it enters into, I guess, what we call the processing method. So natural processed coffees is where we remove the coffee from the tree, and there's really no other intervention sort of to it at this particular time, and we allow the coffee to dry with basically the 5 layers that make up the coffee cherry. So we have the skin, we have the lovely fruity flesh, we have a silvery mucilage, and then obviously we have our parchment, which is a harder kind of skin that sits around our 2 little coffee seeds, or endosperm as they're called. So what we're doing is allowing the coffee to dry completely around this, and so what's happening, and this is a controlled process. This is either done on concrete patios or on raised beds. So what we're seeking to do is dry everything up to a point where it doesn't spoil the coffee. With natural processed coffees, obviously Brazil's very famous for a lot of their naturals, and we are producing coffees with really rich kind of cocos and nuts, nutty sort of qualities to it. Very fruit-driven coffees, very clean, very transparent, but a lovely heaviness of a syrupy heaviness to it, and really just quite delicious kind of coffees. So the fruit is removed from the tree again, and from this the coffee has to then go through a pulper, and what we're looking to do is remove basically the skin and the flesh all the way down to the silvery sort of mucilage that sits around the outside of it. And so we're stripping all of this back, and then we're sending the fruit into these fermentation tanks, and then we're allowing the coffee to naturally be broken down with enzymatically. We then remove the coffee out of the fermentation tanks, and then it is washed vigorously, and that's where I guess the name washing comes through. It's an area where lots of water is run across the coffee to clean it up, and from that particular point it is then sent out to be dried, and then we allow the coffee to dry sort of naturally in the parchment. From that point, from drying, the coffee is sent out to the dry mill, and it will be rested for a period of time, and then from that the dry mill kind of takes over and then removes the harder parchment off the outside of the coffee cherry, and then obviously sorts and grades the coffee into various categories for export and sale back to us as roasters. The flavour sort of characteristics that we would expect from a washed coffee, yeah, clean, bright acidity, very transparent, lowered sort of body, yeah, very open and interesting kind of coffees. So Pulped Natural coffees is kind of something that sits in between both washed and natural, and really it is about removing the skin and the flesh, leaving behind the sticky sort of mucilage on the outside of the coffee, and then we're allowing the coffee to dry for a period of time. It then obviously then goes through its washing process as discussed earlier, and with Pulped Natural coffees, yeah, we tend to sort of even things up, and we're trying to find more balance into the cup, you know, balance of acidity and body, rather than having that sort of really heavy cocos and nuts. You tend to find them very sweet kind of caramel kind of qualities, a little bit of vanillas. I mean, you do get some sort of residual nuttiness left over, but it really does kind of balance up the coffee, and to me it makes them very sort of sweet and caramelly and quite delicious. So your honey processed coffees is something that's relatively new. It is kind of a quasi sort of Pulped Natural style, but what we're doing with that is when we're removing the fruit from the tree, your skin is only removed from the outside, leaving behind the flesh. The cherries are then placed on raised beds and covered with black plastic, and what we're seeking to do is add heat and ventilation to the drying process, and the duration of which the coffee is covered does determine the level of sort of honeyness or the processing method, and it is sort of largely driven to the colouring of the coffee. So we would start at a yellow honey process, which would be the lightest, followed by red, followed by orange, and then obviously going into black, and that would be the longest of the honey processing coffees. So it is about the duration of the drying time. And as we move further along in the drying phases, more heaviness of body, increased sort of sugariness or Brix content increases. We're moving it closer towards fermentation, so more fruitiness, more complexity that we're getting into the coffee. So this honey process really kind of seems to sort of really balance it up and take it on this sort of little interesting sort of little side transition, and they're very, very enjoyable coffees and very kind of current for now. That's just a lovely little snapshot on processing methods.